The day I visited my grandmother in the village, she called me and said something that caught my attention. Adaife, never mock a man who comes to ask for your hand in marriage. I was surprised and asked her why. She looked at me quietly, then began to tell me a story about a very beautiful girl who believed no man was worthy of her. But one day, she mocked the wrong person, and what happened after that, no one saw coming. Hello, and welcome to Tales by Ebony Black. Here, we share powerful emotional stories that reveal hidden truths in real-life lessons. Some stories will make you reflect. Some may touch your heart deeply. And some may change the way you see life. Every story here carries a meaning, and every ending leaves something to think about. So sit back, listen closely, and let the story begin. The Harmattan wind was gentle that evening, carrying the smell of roasted corn from a nearby compound. My grandmother sat on her small wooden stool outside the mud house. I walked in quietly. The moment she looked up and saw me, her wrinkled face lit up with a warm smile. Adaife, my beautiful granddaughter, she said. People had always called me Adaife. They said my skin was too fair for the village sun. They said my beauty made people turn twice when I walked past. But my grandmother, she never praised my beauty without caution. She looked at me carefully that evening and then said softly, Adaife, sit down. I want to tell you a story. Her tone was different, serious, almost like a warning. I sat on the small wooden bench beside her. The sky was turning orange. Birds were returning to their nests. Then she began. Many years ago, my grandmother said, there was a girl called Adamma. Adamma lived somewhere in eastern Nigeria. But people didn't just know her name. They knew her beauty. My grandmother paused and shook her head slowly. Adaife, that girl was beautiful, not ordinary beautiful. When Adamma walked on the road, people stopped what they were doing. Men paused mid-conversation. Women turned to stare.
See this fine girl,
Children
so smart.
whispered.
She walks like a queen.
Is that the girl they
Beautiful.
were
Go well,
talking
my
about?
dear.
Her skin was smooth. Her eyes were bright. Her steps were graceful. And her confidence, too much. Too much for a young girl. When Adamma entered secondary school, her beauty became a problem. Boys in the school fought because of her. Actual fights. One afternoon, 2 boys were seen rolling on the dusty football field, punching each other. Leave her alone. She likes me, one shouted. You're lying. She spoke to me yesterday, the other yelled. Teachers had to separate them. But the truth was simple. Adamma liked none of them. She was a boarder in the girls' hostel. And that was where another problem started. The senior girls. Jealousy is a dangerous thing. The moment they noticed how everyone admired her, their hearts burned with envy. One evening, they called her. Adamma. She walked in calmly. Yes, senior. Kneel down. She knelt. One of the senior girls looked at her with irritation. So you think you're the most beautiful girl in this school? Another added harshly. You walk like a queen. Then the punishment began. They insulted her, mocked her, and sometimes even flogged her. But Adamma did something that irritated them even more. She never cried. She never argued. When they finished humiliating her, she simply stood up, dusted her knees, and said politely, "Thank you." Then she walked away, gracefully, her steps elegant, her back straight, as if nothing had happened. The senior girls hated that even more. They wanted to break her pride, but they couldn't. Years passed. Adamma reached SS3. By then, her reputation had grown. She was not just beautiful, she was brilliant. Teachers admired her intelligence. Students admired her confidence. Soon, she was appointed social prefect, and she carried the position like royalty. Whenever the school attended interschool meetings, debates, or social gatherings, Adamma represented them. The first time she stood to speak at one of those meetings, the entire hall went silent. Her English flowed smoothly. Perfect pronunciation, perfect grammar. "Good afternoon, distinguished representatives," she began confidently. Teachers nodded with pride. Students whispered in amazement. "She speaks like someone from London." Wherever she went, attention followed her. But admiration also came with something darker: envy, jealousy, whispers. Truth be told, Adamma was proud. She believed she was the finest girl anywhere. Beauty with brains. After secondary school, she wrote JAMB. Her result shocked everyone. She scored extremely high. Soon, the admission letter came. She had been admitted to study medicine. Her parents celebrated. Neighbors congratulated them. "Your daughter will become a doctor." In the university, Adamma became even more famous. Beauty, intelligence, confidence, everything about her attracted attention. Male students admired her. Some lecturers tried to get close to her, but Adamma outsmarted every one of them. She focused only on her studies, and in a few years, she graduated. Dr. Adamma, NYSC. Then came NYSC. Her posting was to a quiet village in Imo State. The village health center where she worked had never seen someone like her before. Patients stared. Villagers whispered. Even fellow Corps members admired her. One afternoon, a group of them were standing outside the health center, laughing and chatting. A nurse suddenly approached the gate. "Someone is asking for you people." They turned. Standing outside the gate was a small man, very small, a dwarf. His clothes were dusty from traveling, his eyes fixed directly on Adamma. The moment he saw her clearly, he froze. It was as if he had never seen such beauty before. He slowly approached. The corps members looked at each other and began giggling. One whispered, "Who is this?" The dwarf gathered courage and spoke softly. "I want to speak with her." He pointed at Adamma. The laughter grew louder. Adamma looked him up and down. Then she laughed. A sharp, mocking laugh. "You?" Her friends laughed harder. She stepped forward. "Do I look like someone you can get with this your brief body?" The corps members burst into uncontrollable laughter. Even the nurses were smiling. Adamma continued cruelly. "Even if you own the whole world, you still can't get me." The dwarf stood there, silent, his face burning with humiliation. For a moment, it looked like he would cry. Then he turned and slowly walked away. But in his heart, something dark had been planted. That night, the dwarf couldn't sleep. Adamma's laughter echoed in his mind. Her insults burned inside him. Finally, he whispered to himself, "She must be mine, no matter what it takes." The next morning, he began a strange journey. He traveled for 2 days, crossing forests, passing villages, until he reached a distant village in Ogun State. People there feared a certain native doctor, a dreaded man, powerful, dangerous. The dwarf found him. "I want a woman," he said. The native doctor looked at him carefully. "What kind of woman?" The dwarf replied quietly, "The most beautiful woman you have ever seen." After listening to the story, the native doctor prepared something, a small charm. "Whenever she passes near you," he said, "blow this charm into the air, and she will become yours." The dwarf returned to Imo State. Days later, he saw Adamma walking home. Her usual confident steps, her head held high. The dwarf hid nearby and blew the charm into the air. Something changed. Adamma began to notice him. At first it was strange curiosity, then something deeper. Within months, the unimaginable happened. Adamma married the dwarf. The news spread like wildfire. People couldn't believe it. That proud girl? The one who mocked him? How? Her former schoolmates were shocked. Many secretly followed the story. They wanted to see how her life would end. But something strange happened. The marriage was peaceful. Adamma gave birth to 3 beautiful children. 15 years passed, quietly. One day, the dwarf returned from the market. He bought garden eggs and alligator pepper. He handed them to Adamma. "Keep these for our evening meeting," he said. She went inside. While arranging them, she opened one of the alligator peppers and ate it. Immediately, something strange happened. Her mind cleared. Her eyes widened. She looked around the house in confusion. Then she saw the dwarf entering the room. Her voice trembled. "Who are you?" The dwarf froze. "What do you mean? Where am I?" she asked. He stared at her in shock. "You are my wife." She shook her head violently. No, 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 I don't know you," he whispered slowly. "Adamma, we have been married for 15 years. You have 3 children." Her scream filled the house. The painful realization. She cried for hours. When she finally calmed down, she asked the whole story, and the truth came out. She had been under a spell for 15 years. She immediately left the house and returned to her parents. Her parents welcomed her with mixed emotions. They were happy she was alive, but they also remembered something. They had warned her long ago. Her mother sighed deeply. "We warned you about pride." Her father shook his head sadly. "You mocked people." Adamma cried again. "I didn't know. I didn't know." The marriage ended, but time had passed. She was now in her late 30s. With 3 children, she never remarried. My grandmother finished the story slowly. The evening had grown dark. Crickets were singing. She held my hand gently. "Adaife, when the time comes for men to come and ask for your hand in marriage, never mock any of them. If you don't like a man, reject him politely. Give a reasonable excuse, but never humiliate him." She looked straight into my eyes, because sometimes a wounded heart can do dangerous things. And pride has destroyed many beautiful destinies. My grandmother then sighed softly.
And that, my daughter, is the story of Adamma. A simple story, but a powerful lesson. Sometimes pride can lead us into situations we never imagined, and the way we treat people today may shape our tomorrow. So remember, it costs nothing to be kind and respectful. If this story taught you something, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Tales by Ebony Black for more powerful stories. Until the next story, stay thoughtful, stay kind.